Hey folks, what's going on? All right, so I want to introduce you to one of the loudest amps ever created, the Mesa Coliseum. Just picked this thing up recently. A bunch of them went on sale. Some private collector that got rid of stuff, and I grabbed one of them. This is a very late Mark IIB. Very, very late. Close in serial number to when they switched over to the 2Cs. This particular one is a 15-inch combo with the EV15L speaker in it. Just a bigger, beefier, bassier version of the EV12L speaker that a lot of these came with back in these days, you know, around 82, 83, give or take. It's a long chassis in this monstrous 80-pound combo. It's just heaviest thing. You know, the only thing heavier than the amp is the tone. So I want to do some tone samples of it today for you guys, and I'll see if I can try to capture it. Honestly, I don't know if I'm going to be able to capture just how massive this amp sounds in the room. It's just absolutely massive. So, give you a quick rundown. You know, the front control panels are all the same as you would expect from the, you know, the 2Bs, 2Cs, GEQ. A couple interesting things that I will note. On this amp, there's a full power and half power switch. How this thing is wired, what it is actually, the full power is pentode and the half power is triode. So in full power, this thing's pushing around 200 watts, and in half power and triode mode, it's pushing somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 watts. So that's kind of cool because it sounds killer with my Greenback cab, and so I can run it in 50 watt mode and not completely destroy my Greenback cab. But let's go back here and look at the really fun stuff. Let's see if I can. God damn, this thing is heavy. So, this is where it's at. So we've got the 6L6 running in AB. We've got this massive transformer. This thing's actually running 540 plate volts, which is just crazy. The 2C pluses with the 105 PT are running about 500 plate volts. I think mine's about 505. This thing's 540. In the feel department, what that does is it makes it feel when you're playing this thing like it's spring loaded. Like when you're playing the notes, your strings are just spring loaded. It's really, really cool. This one is the late Bs and the Cs came with the limit knob. So there's a limit board in there, which is basically a built-in attenuator. It's a little more than that, but just think of it as an attenuator. And then when I got this thing, I sent it back to Boogie to have Mike B service it because we had some caps that were shooting out lightning bolts and stuff. So Mike gave it a full service, and I had him do his 2B loop mod. What's the loop mod? Well, 2Bs didn't have a great effects loop. That's one of the things the 2C Plus fixed back in those days. So Mike fixed all that. It gains it up a little bit. And effectively what it means is all the front controls are now before the effects send, and then now he put this new master back here. So this is the new master that's after the effects return. So this thing has a bunch of volume knobs on it now, and one of the tricky things is kind of balancing those. But let me tell you some first impressions about this amp. I wasn't really sure what to expect with the loop mod, so I wanted to also talk about that for a tone thing because there's not other people out there who have done reviews of loop modded 2Bs. It definitely gains it up. The gain on this thing is somewhere between my C plus and my C++, and it is closer to my C++. However, on my C++, it pretty much took out the cleans. I mean, you can still get some cleans, but you don't have a ton of headroom if you really roll the volume back. This thing has so much headroom. It did dirty up the cleans with the loop mod, but there is so much headroom that it just really doesn't matter. So if I can get a fine balance of the various volume knobs, because any of them can get you into breakup territory if you're not careful with them. But with spending some time with these knobs and getting everything dialed in, just massive sounding. So I can go anywhere from sparkling Fender cleans to plus high gain and anywhere in between. It still retains a really nice classic rock crunch, which honestly I think the 2Bs have a better classic rock crunch than the C pluses do personally. And with that limit board, I can go anywhere from honestly sounding good at bedroom levels, which I know it sounds crazy, all the way up to 200 watts, just insanely loud. So this amp it's a pretty cool amp. Let me do some tone with a couple different guitars, some different speakers, and see what you guys think. All right, thanks guys. Bye. Okay guys, for my first trick, I'm going to use my ESP Horizon NT2 with the Seymour Duncans to JB and 59 combo, and I'm going to do some cleans in the single coil tap mode and twist some knobs, play with some pickups, and see what you think. Thanks. Okay, next I'm going to leave it on my Horizon, except I'm going to do it in humbucker mode. I've got a Greenback cabinet, and I'm going to run it into there, and I'm going to leave it on triode mode like I had it on with cleans, and do some crunchy tones. All right, check it out. next one, let's do some rocky, crunchy tones. So I will be up on pentode mode now, so it's a little bit more aggressive on the attack, and I will be using a different ESP Horizon NT2, this one loaded with the EMG headset pickups. And then for this one, I'll just reverb out, or EQ out without reverb, with reverb, and then I'll flip the EQ on, just because there's not as much knob turning to do in the higher gain areas. So anyway, check it out. Trick. So this time I'm going to be on the same ESP with the headset, this time through a Marshall 1960B cab with the G12T-75s, and this is going to be a little more Metal-icious. So we'll come in and see how this thing looks when we throttle it out. Well, actually it's not even throttled out, but it doesn't need to be. So check it out.